Hey guys, it's Marc from HighstrungAudio, and this is a review of the Topping A90 Headphone Amplifier. So basically, this amplifier is getting a lot of buzz lately. So the question is this really all the hype? Does it deserve all the hype it's getting? I'm going to discuss that right now. We're going to go through how that sounds, what it's like, and is it worth the money? Right now it retails for about $500, and the key thing that people are saying about this is that it's super clean. And I will agree that this amplifier is super clean, has a really good output. It lets whatever headphone you're putting into it, it lets the true character of the headphone come out. So a planar is going to sound like a planar. A dynamic headphone is going to sound like a dynamic headphone, and the true character of that headphone will come right out because it's so clean. Now the question is it any good? In my opinion, it's pretty, I would say it's good. I would say that it's not as good as people are saying it is. And I'll explain to you what my take is on this thing. So this is an amplifier that has really good specs. The noise floor, the distortion rates are super low. The specifications are first class, the second to none. The problem is that the components inside this are really cheap. And how that comes out and translates into the real world is that the sound coming out of this does sound like a regular solid state amplifier. As you turn the volume up, it gets a little edgy. It also, if you're playing it with a dynamic headphone, I feel like it's not the best pairing. Something like a Sennheiser 560 HD, it can get a little harsh, and it's a little cold. With some music, and I'm not really in love with the sound with the Sennheisers. However, when you go to a planar, even a cheap planar like the Hi-Fi Man Diva, this is what you would call a really good match. This headphone with this amp sounds fantastic. Really, really enjoyable. It's non-fatiguing. You could listen to it for hours. It sounds great. Even with that said though, do I find this amplifier as good as everybody else is saying? And again, I have to come back to saying no. This is not going to sound as good as a Class A amplifier, headphone amp. Something like from Flux Labs, they have an FA, I think it's an FA12 or an F12S, I forgot what they call it. I've heard that, and it's $500 just like this, and it sounds probably twice as good. It's not fatiguing, the notes are meaty, there's dimension to the sound, and it just has a lot of weight and character to it. It ends up being very musical. This is the opposite of that. This is super clean. And I have to say something that might be a little controversial, but I find that this might be a little bit veiled, especially when you compare it to the THX 789. It's a little veiled, and some people like it better because they say it sounds smoother, but in all honesty, it's still veiled. So and that again has to do with the components inside this thing. They're not the most expensive components that Topping is using, and honestly, I'm not really a fan of the D90 either. Although it's definitely better than their past offerings, the D90, and also this is better than what they have in the past. It's good. I would call this mid-fi. This is a good mid-fi setup, but you're not getting into hi-fi, and you really, for the money, you can get stuff that's hi-fi. Like I said, Flux Labs has an FA, I think it's an FA12 or an F12. I've heard it. It sounds fantastic. It's a Class A amp. It has very high-end components inside the amplifier. It also comes in a balanced version, which I'm going to be receiving my own in about 2 weeks, and I'm going to be reviewing that. And I'm going to be doing a full review on that amp. But like I said, just to recap, guys, this amp is very two-dimensional sounding, very solid state sounding, gets edgy when you turn up the volume. It does get edgy when you use it with a dynamic pair of headphones, and it is very source dependent. You can't just use a cheap DAC with this because it'll shine through and it'll really sound bad. Right now I'm using this with a Gustard A22. It's about a $1,200 DAC. I got the MQA version. I bought it from Apos, and it's really nice. Listen, playing this through the Gustard is good. It's not gonna break any records. It's not gonna shatter my world. I out of a 10, if I was to rate this thing out of a 10, I'd probably give it a 7.75. But I honestly, for $500, because of what's being released out there today, I mean, I would expect just a little bit more. So, although I could recommend this to somebody that is on a budget and or maybe just likes that clean sound, that clean, solid state sound, I could recommend this as something that's very, very good, but it's not excellent. It doesn't cross over into the amazing or wow like everybody's saying it is. I disagree with all the reviews out there. Now, here's the surprise of this review. I will tell you one thing you're not gonna expect. This headphone amp has a pre-section, and I found this to be actually quite good, and that I would say is above average. I hooked this up. I was using my Gustard A22 directly into my amplifier, and then I said, just for shits and gigs, let me plug this in and see what it sounds like in the chain. And usually when you hook up a preamp, the sound quality goes down because you're adding a pair of wires in the chain, and it always, degrades the sound a little bit. What I found with this is something interesting. It pushed the sound forward. It made it more dynamic, and I was very surprised. It actually sounded in some ways better than when I hooked my Gustard directly up to the amp. Although it wasn't as pristine and see-through, the resolution went down a dot, but the dynamics went up, and the cymbal hits, the guitar riffs, the drum beats, everything felt more impactful, and I kind of liked it. So it depends on my mood. So I'm actually going to be keeping this because I love the way it functions as a preamp. I would call that excellent. So this is an excellent preamp, very, very good. Just make sure if you're going to use it as a preamp that you use the balanced, I would use the balanced inputs and outputs, just because they're going to sound a lot better than the single-ended. They are cleaner. It's a cleaner way to get your signal to the amplifier, and it does make a big difference. I use AudioQuest Mackenzie's, and I find them fantastic. So just make sure you use high-quality XLRs to get the best results. What else can I tell you? So just to recap, this does sound good with planars. I wouldn't use it with a dynamic headphone at all, like a Focal Clear. I wouldn't use it with that at all. It's not going to be a good head match for this. The Sennheiser 560S, not a good match. Any Heahphone, I think, would be insane. They're just incredible with this amp. Just because these are, that have that planar magic, and then they kind of gets reeled in by that solid state, and it kind of evens itself out, all that harshness. So these make a very good pairing. With that said, these sound even better with a Class A amp, and it takes it to a whole nother level. But like I said, if you're going to get this and you love planars and you just love the company Topping, you love the way this looks, it really does have a great form factor. It's very compact, it's very sleek. It's definitely a good looking headphone amp. It's built very, very well. A lot of people are complaining about the volume knob being a little shaky. Actually, I think they fixed it because this is solid and it feels really good. So I have no problems with the volume knob on this. So it has your single-ended, you have a balanced 4mm, and then the XLR input. You have low, medium, and high gains. Inputs, RCA, and XLR. I always recommend the XLR. It does sound cleaner. It does sound better when you go, to the inputs using the XLR. And yeah, that's my review. I hope this helps somebody make the right decision in their purchase. The reason why I make these videos is to help people make the right decision and prevent them from wasting money and their time buying stuff and returning it. So anyway, have a good day, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and also please subscribe if you're not a member. We'd love to get your feedback. Leave comments below. Try to keep it clean, but leave comments below, and have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching.